And we're back with another episode of the AC Milan Zone podcast. He makes his return, the Viking of the AC Milan Zone podcast. Welcome back from Sweden, Oscar. Good to have you back.
Thank you, Stefano. Thank you, Stefano. We're very excited to have just not talking you and me about refereeing performances today.
Absolutely, you're right. We're joined by Calcio and Serie A Twitter royalty, I would say. On the left of your screens, you know her as Dybalexa, obviously Dybala's number one fan. Rafael Leao's secret number one fan. We're still working on shipping that number 10 t-shirt to her. I'm sure it will arrive to Canada very soon. Lex, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to join you guys.
And to the right of your screens, he makes his return. We were really hoping to close out the year to not having to talk to an Interista. He is, however, our favorite Interista, so we make always an exception. Uncle Sharma, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Nice to be top of the table as we end 2025. So I was not going to miss this episode.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure for the stream. Thank you very much, everyone. No, if you're watching this live, thank you very much. Please share yourself in the chat. I already see someone saying to the best culture creators. Oscar, I'm afraid they're not talking about us. But thank you for joining in the chat. Take your time to leave a like and subscribe. It helps us a ton. I think we should just jump straight into it. This is meant to be sort of a medley Serie A special to talk about what has been a pretty crazy year and maybe get into some predictions. On the screen for everybody, there is also the current table. As Uncle Sharma unfortunately reminded us, we see Inter at the top, but it is a very, 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 very tight Serie A table. Inter is at 36, Milan at 35, Napoli at 34, Roma at 33, Juventus at 32, and then Como, maybe the first one to have been a little bit left behind. Obviously, the top three have a game in hand, but it's very tight. And for the first time, I think, if I can remember correctly, this weekend, all the big boys team won. It's been a Serie A, very slow Serie A. A lot of points dropped left and right. How surprised are you? We'll start with Lex and then we'll go to Uncle Sharma. How surprised are you about this close title race involving so many teams when we all thought maybe it's going to be a two-horse race this far into the year?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised it's still this close at this point. I think going into the season, for me, Napoli were heavy favorites just because they were one of the few teams to keep their coach and, basically add a lot of talent to their squad. So I'm surprised that, there was a lot of shocking points dropped from multiple teams at the top. So I think that's kind of kept things close, is that there's not really one single convincing strong team. Like every team at the top has their flaws that has allowed them to drop some points. But I mean, it works out well for Juve. So I'm happy about it, I think, because I think that we're still in the mix there. Hey, maybe I'm being a little too positive, but we're right there. I know the game in hand, it helps make things look a little closer, but yeah, definitely a bit surprised at how tight things are this season.
Absolutely. Quickly catching up with the chat. Barellissima, my queen Lex. I do believe we follow you on Twitter as well, so thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. And an hashtag Calcio supports Calcio. We love that. The Italian-speaking community, the English-speaking community for Serie A is strong. I want to get back after we hear from Uncle Sharma about Juventus' chances. I think Lex is probably a little bit more positive than the rest of us might be, but I'm curious to see. Uncle Sharma, I think you expected Inter to be fighting for a Scudetto, of course, after being so close last year. It's not a surprise. Did you think? Were you surprised again by how close the rest of it is, and that perhaps it wasn't just the Napoli that are challenging you?
Well, I'm surprised, Inter are top, because I was expecting us to challenge but not be top. So I don't think many of you as well probably expected Inter to be top at this stage and Fiorentina to be bottom. I think those two, the top and bottom, I think are surprises for most people. But the closeness, I did expect it. I did. Same as Lex, I thought Napoli were favourites, but I thought at this stage, it would be just a few points between the teams. And I think now this is kind of the top four expected. I think Roma still kind of surprising me. They keep going. They keep proving me wrong every other weekend, even though they started to drop points finally. But I think it is going to be Inter, Milan, Napoli, and Juve by the end of it.
Very well. Ozzy, I know obviously very well what you think. I remember very well doing our stream before the season started. And you definitely having the top two from last year being in those positions.
Yeah.
And us fighting with Juve and with Roma. We were talking about maybe Fiorentina. This was a time where Pioli was meant to take him to the next step. Obviously, that did not happen. We'll get to the relegation battle soon. But how shocked were you? Obviously, for us, it's a nice surprise to be fighting with them. I think if you look at the points that we've dropped, it may be what we would call a normal Serie A year in terms of the averages. We might not have been there. But do you think we're there to stay until the very end to fight for the title?
Yeah, I feel like a parrot and an echo here. I agree with both Lex and Uncle Sharma. From a Milan standpoint, I'm quite surprised. I think I said maybe third or fourth, but that was me being optimistic. I'm quite surprised we are second. You're right with dropping the points. That is maybe a more of a stereotypical Serie A season, but I'm pleasantly surprised that we're fighting at the top, even though we're perhaps seeing some cracks in our team. Fiorentina is the big one out of all of them, I would say, in terms of surprise. Maybe Lazio could have been a bit higher. I agree, though, with Uncle Sharma that the top four will be a combination of Inter, Milan, Napoli, and Juventus. I did predict Roma to be out of the Champions League qualification, just purely because Gasperini might have needed a season to gel the team together. Not that Roma were massively disappointing last year, but at least a season to gel everyone together. But they're up there fighting, but eventually it will be a combination of Inter, Milan, Napoli, Juventus. Now with Spalletti at the realm.
Okay, very interesting. I think we need to come back to this. It was part of my quick fire questions, but yes or no, is Juve in the Scudetto race? Oscar?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
no?
if you just look at a game less played, I think Bremer is coming back. Getting that solid defensive core back together, sort of. I mean, it's you. Yeah, I would say so.
Uncle Sharma?
Barely, just about.
Okay, and Lex, I think I know your answer.
I'm gonna say yes, but like I said, I always tend to lean more positive. Like you ask other Juve fans, they might not agree with me. But I think I was talking to my brother about this too, and it's like, hey, you have to play every team again still. So it's a whole second half of the season to go. And it makes me think like if we had hired Spalletti when he was first available in the summer, I think we would have been right there for sure. But we did already beat Inter. Sorry, Uncle Sharma.
You have to put that in.
That helps, hey?
But you have to play all the big teams away, I think, in the second half.
That's true.
That honestly might help you. I guess we can focus on Inter then for now. I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say, "Oh, we didn't know we were gonna challenge." I wonder if you're playing the sort of homer card that a lot of Italian football fans do, and it's always like, it's never our year, you know. I think Inter have shown to be the best team in Italy currently. There's definitely some issues. The big teams matchups are definitely some of those. But in terms of also the squad depth, Inter and Napoli are on a league of their own. Napoli has been more unlucky with injuries. But to me, the clear favorite is still Inter. So my next yes or no question, and we'll work our way back, Lex, Uncle, and then Oscar. Is Inter the favorite for the title?
Ooh, this is tough. I think I had Napoli like at the start.
Mm-hmm.
I think I still have them like on par with Napoli. I think it's tough. A lot of people were counting out Inter at the start of the season just because of Kivu coming in and stuff. But I mean, they made it to a Champions League final, challenge for the Scudetto last year, pretty much kept the same squad. So I would say I'm not surprised necessarily. I think maybe just in big matches, maybe Uncle Sharma can attest to this, is just maybe some inexperience from having such a new coach going up against managers like Conte, like Allegri, like Gasperini, now Spalletti. That's tough, right? Those guys are in a whole league of their own. But yeah, I would say they're up there. They're definitely tied, maybe tied for a favorite, Napoli. But yeah.
Uncle Sharma.
I was still not to be the like you said, the homer, or like try to be the Italian superstition, like no, it's you guys. But I still would have Napoli slightly ahead, just because of Conte. I think just the Conte factor. I would have them slightly ahead, and I'll probably have maybe Inter and Milan at the same, just because of Milan's one game a week. I would have them at the same, not because, as you said, I think our squad is stronger on paper and all that stuff, but because that you don't really need a deep squad if you're just playing once a week.
Very well. Ozzy, what do you think?
I think I went into this season predicting Napoli, Inter, Milan in that order. I think I might have to keep it like that. I think I agree with both Lex and Uncle Sharma. I feel like Napoli might have already had their hiccup in a way. They're out of the Coppa Italia, right? They're not doing splendidly in the Champions League, but I think their squad depth perhaps outshines Inter slightly. And with a bit of an inexperienced coach like Kivu, that I think the old foxes of Allegri and Conte, for example, will be snapping at Kivu's and Inter's heels, and Inter might continue to lose out on the tops, I guess the top six, if you want to call that, those big games, and they want to go quite far in the Champions League, and they're third or fourth in the Champions League in the table, so.
Yeah,
We're quite lucky. Yeah, we're very lucky. Well, I guess unlucky in the way that we're not in Champions League, but with our squad depth, we've got that on our side. With just playing once a week, even out of the Coppa Italia now, thank God. And maybe not even. Well, we're not even going to Australia. So.
I know. Well, wait until tomorrow when another tweet comes out that we're going back to Australia before not going back to Australia. If we know a little bit about how my beautiful country works. Very interesting. I agreed. I had Napoli at the beginning of the season. Well, on our podcast, I think in a second of hubris, I did say that we would win the title. But realistically, I did have Napoli ahead of Inter. I think Inter is the favorite right now. Sure, the big matches are a problem, and you can see that I tend to agree with Lex. There's a little bit of inexperience in Kivu and maybe lacking that adjustment. I think he prepares the games very well, but when things don't go his way, you see experienced coaches making those changes that work. I think he'll get there. I think it's a very positive sign that you see oftentimes early in the season Lautaro getting pulled. I think that shows actually great understanding and courage from Kivu. You come in and as an experienced coach, you wouldn't dare remove the captain and on paper the best player on the team, but he's saying, no, you're playing terrible. I take you out. You're first one to come out in the 60th minute, and a lot of times it's worked out, especially when you have some good, for once, depth in that position. So yeah, I just think Napoli has, look, it's very close. Napoli's just been slipping a lot on those smaller games. Sometimes we've seen it in Europe, we've seen it in Italy and in Serie A, and that worries me a little bit. Now Conte is incredible. I think you can see that he's been changing and he's been preparing games very well. I think the Supercoppa was a very clear sign. I would have loved to see the Inter-Napoli matchup actually, but I think they would have still steamrolled anyone who was in front of them like they did with us and Bologna. Now sometimes he gets stuck in his way, the same way we should give him props for finding Neres and making him shine. We should also wonder why Neres was on the bench for so long. That's sort of the dark side of Conte in my mind. But unless they go back to that sort of bully mode in Serie A like they did last year, I see Inter bullying the small teams and winning those, which is most of the games that we're going to play.
Lukaku is coming back as well.
True. Do we think that Lukaku takes the starting spot? Another quick fire question. We'll just go into that.
Yeah, I don't rate Højlund, even though he's doing well at the moment.
Okay, interesting. So Lukaku once he's back in form, starter. Lex?
I think Conte loves him too much. I I think he definitely gets his spot back.
That's his boy.
This guy.
Ozzy?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. Maybe Conte doesn't want to switch things up too much. I think we all saw that once Kevin De Bruyne got injured and didn't start playing, Napoli started playing better. Maybe he doesn't want to jinx it, but yeah, Lukaku is Conte's boy. Let's see how Lukaku starts firing after being, was it like 3 months now out injured.
Okay.
He's quite a hefty man in general. It might take a while for him to get going.
Yeah.
I would like to go on record that this podcast does not body shame in any way.
No. But it's like, well built strikers can take some time to get into shape.
No, absolutely, especially from that kind of injury, for sure.
Yeah,
no, you're right. You're right. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But then I want to do a pulse check everyone on Højlund. I think it's a fascinating subject. Uncle Sharma still doesn't rate him. Lex, do you think he's the big Man United regret, as I keep reading on Twitter?
I don't think so. I think it's hard to say just because of his like lackluster performances there. Like, I don't think they have much to regret. I think it's more just the Conte effect more than anything. I think that Højlund going on this tear and scoring, and it's not super surprising, right, to all of us who know Conte. Kind of like as soon as we saw that signing happen, we're like, yeah, we're gonna see a bit of a resurgence from him. Yeah, so not super surprising to me.
He's scoring like tap-ins as well. Like it's not like scoring any nice goals. And then De Winter just gifting him like the opportunities that he wanted in the Super Cup. So yeah,
it does feel like he was not worth what Man United paid for him, especially early on. He was not as bad as the Premier League fans saw. I think any striker goes to die in Man United, and we've seen plenty of examples. And to continue the roller coaster, he's not as good as the last 2 weeks have shown. I rate him. I think he's a solid striker. But yeah, I think the Conte effect is absolutely right. Conte is great at creating space for him. I think Lukaku's Conte effect too, by the way. I don't particularly rate Lukaku now or as I speak. Not that he's a bad striker. I mean, not as good as maybe a lot of people might have said. But look, you give Højlund space and you create a situation where he's 1-on-1 against Conny de Winter. No disrespect to Conny de Winter. And he's going to do well. But I've seen too often, Højlund get shut down by great defenders like Bremer. But also, the Ians of the situation at Atalanta and so on. So, yeah, I tend to agree. I'm a little bit lukewarm on him. Next question. For me, I'm a little bit surprised. I think Juventus is obviously mathematically in the Scudetto race, but kind of like us, a step below the other two for sure. So maybe this question is a little bit useless to ask, but does Juventus finish top 4?
I'll go first.
Go for it, of course.
Yeah, I think we do. I do at this point. I think I mean, I did say we were in the Scudetto race, so naturally, like you said, but
I mean, it's close enough that you can be in the Scudetto race and finish 5th, apparently.
That's true. That's so true, honestly. No, since the hiring of Spalletti, this is the most confident and comfortable I've felt with a manager in a while. So it's nice to feel that way about a coach. So yeah, I've been a fan of Spalletti. I like what he's doing. I see progress in our play already, especially we're finally passing the ball, which sounds ridiculous to say, but especially in the other team's half, we're actually moving the ball quickly. And I really like how he speaks about the players on our team. And it seems like the players also have a good rapport with him. So that's always nice to hear. I know it's speaking to the media and stuff, but it's nice to hear it go both ways,
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to have a good read on things just in how he speaks about the match after the game as well. So yeah, he's a seasoned vet. He's a solid coach, right? So I'm confident about it, I think. But hey, you never know. Like you said, this season is so unpredictable.
Okay, Uncle Sharma, same question for you. You said that they were barely in a Scudetto race. Do they finish top 4?
Yeah, as I said, I don't believe in Roma unless they sign magically some strikers or some attacking players in January. I don't see them holding out on this form that they've been in. And Juve just yeah, with the squad, Spalletti. Yeah, I'm a big Spalletti fan, even though for Inter fans, he's quite opinion splitting because his time at Inter, some see it as an underachievement, but I appreciated his time at Inter, back-to-back fourth place spots. So I think that's what he does. He'll get Juve fourth spot, and yeah, I think they'll get there quite easily, in my opinion.
Oscar?
Yeah, I sound like a parrot again. I think Roma are stagnating a bit. They just don't have a proper striker. I mean, where's Dovbyk been? Where's Ferguson is talked about him being shipped back in January. They have a second-rate, Serie A attacking striker, or I guess attacker in Dybala.
Whoa,
No,
those are fighting
no,
words
no,
right
no,
now in this room.
Come out swinging here. No, he's not like that number 9. Obviously, that they need proper. He creates so much chances, and he's a goal scorer, I guess, but not. They need a second one at least. Dovbyk and Ferguson won't do, and they've sort of stagnated. I feel like while Juventus are a bit more of an upward trend. You even have Openda. Oh, well, he almost missed, but he scored his first Serie A goal. Bit of a tap in, like double touch.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I know, no, right, but a bit more of an upward trend for Juventus. So top 4, I shouldn't say should be in the bag, but looking underneath Juventus now, and Como and Bologna, they'll have their hiccups. I think Como they're doing great. I shouldn't say above expectation, but I think another season for them at least until they start trying to properly crack the top 4.
Agreed. I want to get back to Roma because I think it's fascinating, and also touch on Como. I promise you 3 that we won't go through every single team. I won't keep you here for another 30 hours. But since we're talking about Juve, let's wrap that up. Yes, I think the Spalletti effect is real. I think we're a little prisoner at the moment. There's still a lot that isn't working. Now Spalletti's had very little time and, came in at a difficult time. So I'm not too sure that I rate Juve that much higher than Roma. I can absolutely be wrong. I'm no genius. But there's still a lot of issues. I'm looking at that midfield. And look, Spalletti has always been a coach that has lived off the midfield, right? We've seen him at Napoli, but even those Roma days, if you think about the Nainggolan, Pjanic of the world, and even those Inter days that maybe he did achieve, but there were some cornerstones in the midfield, and Juve is really, really, really rough for that at the moment. We'll see if the January, if Befana brings any presence for him. Thuram has been picking up a little bit better. I think he had a really rough spell. I like him a lot. Started the season well, and then it's also hard to work in a system that wasn't working from the Tudor transition. I'm not sold on Locatelli, especially in a 2-man midfield.
Talking about Locatelli, I saw that EAFC had brought out like their informed cards, like a legend starting 11, and Locatelli somehow managed to get in there. I'm not sure who had
Serie A legend.
cards.
Okay. Well,
no,
maybe
Serie A,
I'm
just it was just
Maybe
Juventus
in charge of that.
It was just Juventus, and you saw like Zidane, Del Piero, Platini, and then there's just like, is that
Manuel Locatelli? Let's go. Hey,
and like, well,
Capitano.
Marquisio doesn't exist, even Vidal doesn't exist.
Yeah, they called a lot of numbers and no one gave the right. So we're like, all right, Manuel, sneak in here. But I'll pass it on very quickly. But yes, I think Spalletti is also able to find and improve players. And we saw that on Napoli. And I think the McKennies of the world can benefit from that. Again, no, absolutely no body shaming in this podcast. But if he can manage to get himself on a consistent form, both physically and also on the pitch. We've seen him play great the last couple of games, and I think that's a big.
He's looking lean this season. I don't know. He's looking real lean. McKennie.
I know, but I think that was also always his trouble because he's not the maestro head up, pinging passes, but he's a good player and he's showing it. But yes, I think that's a big problem. You have to see what happens with Cobb Miners. You have to see who the starting striker is, if they are going to score, and all that. So I still have some problems. Lex, will go to you as the expert, as the high IQ Calcio Juve expert. How do you see the problems in midfield panning out? Are they going to bring anyone in, or is he going to find, again, the McKennies of the world? And please let us know what's happening up there. Is Jonathan David getting bullied in the locker room and on his way out? Is Openda going to start scoring? Who's helping out Yildiz for the second part of the season?
No, you raise a lot of great points. I was thinking about it too. I mean, honestly, it's been a lot of Yildiz, like carrying the team, right? So when you think about that too, like Yildiz, McKennie, there's been some solid core players that have been pushing us through this last run that we've been on. So you always have to worry. There's always the injury fear and stuff. So I think, like as you mentioned, there are definitely some instabilities, and midfield is a great point. I think Miretti is the key to fixing the midfield issues. I've been a huge Miretti fan, but I'm hoping that he can continue to push, improve, to get some more playing time. I think Spalletti himself mentioned he liked his cameo when he came off the bench at the end of the Pisa match. I just think he's that technical, high IQ player that we need in the midfield. You know, if, like for me, dream attack is like Yildiz, Samiretti, Zagrova in there. Like I know it's unrealistic right now, but those are some of my favorite players right now to watch at Juve. And then as for the striker position, I mean, Jonathan David keeps putting Parmigiano on his seafood pasta apparently, so it's been excluded. Which, by the way, I know it's like basically illegal to do in Italy, but it's not that bad. Like I don't mind it. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
look, my nonna would not allow it. As the Italian, let me jump in here. I would not do it, but I feel like in terms of Italian food sins, there's worse. There's worse.
Exactly.
I also find it hilarious. I remember when McKennie, I think it was in the documentary, also had some sort of problems with chiellini and pasta and coffee and all that. So it seems to be a Juve tradition.
Yeah, McKennie's had a few of those like food controversies.
I mean, I'm Swedish, but grew up in Italy. But even I had a kebab pizza over Christmas, so I'm not really one to talk.
Yeah, I feel like that's rougher than putting Parmigiano on your seafood, for example.
Yes, no, but yeah, the striker situation has definitely got to work itself out. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask about the same you asked about Højlund. I want to go around. Do we rate Jonathan David?
Look, does anyone know at the top of their head how much money he makes? Not a problem.
I think it was like 5 mil net.
Oh, okay, that's not bad at all. I thought it would be higher. For a free, and if he makes that kind of money, he's that kind of player. I think in a team that works well, he can slot away some goals. He's not the striker that's gonna, put the team on his shoulders and turn a bad game into a good one single-handedly. It's a little bit in Cuckoo vibes in terms of the psychology behind it, and you see someone that maybe is not playing the position. I think it's closer probably for Jonathan David than Nkunku. Nkunku is playing more out of position, but I can see Jonathan David in like a two-striker system with like a Yildiz behind him, more central, work better than lone striker. But yeah, I don't think he's... Yeah, it's like I agree Miretti is a good player. I think it's the same kind of conversation. I just think that if you're talking about Jonathan David being your starting striker and Miretti being the key to unlock your midfield, you're probably more towards the top 4 battle rather than Scudetto battle. And it's not really a shot. Our midfield is solid. It's the only thing we have. But there's plenty of holes. Our defense is kind of good because Allegri, but you see as soon as one piece goes missing, it's problematic. The wings, we found Alexis Alemakers, who hopefully will have run forever because there's no one else. Bartesaghi was found money because Stupinian has the Premier League mystique effect, and we have our own striker problems. So yeah, I don't know, Ozzy, what you think about the Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the sort of the circumstances under how he came to Juve, I think how long did he want to leave Lille for? I feel like it was like 3 years of Fabrizio Romano tweets.
Oh my god!
And you say this is, I'm not a shot. I do like Fabrizio, I guess, on Twitter. If you say he left for free, I wonder how much he paid Fabrizio Romano to tweet about him. That's a joke. That's a joke, of course. But yeah, €5 million net. That's how much Leao makes. while Leao should probably be on more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with the whole Nkunku situation that you can have. It's sort of like mirrored that. Maybe you just need to find him a right role, maybe like a second striker or whatever. He needs to get going for Canada to have hopes for in the World Cup. Maybe he finds a bit of motivation there. Yeah, is he better than Højlund? I think again Højlund was drastically overpriced. I think anyone who was a Serie A fan or watching Serie A would know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he better than Højlund? Ooh, this is tough.
Oh yeah.
I don't think so. But I wonder if that's an answer that I have based on current form, which is, you know, Højlund just won in the Super Cup, was scoring brace left and right. It's, oh yeah, of course he's better. But yeah, I don't know, Lex. I mean, obviously you're biased as the Juve fan and the Canadian. But yeah, what's your thought? Is he better in Højlund, and in general, does he have a place in this US squad?
That's a tough question. Like you said, with recency bias to answer that. I know, I think it's more like you guys have all pointed out, finding the right role for him in the system. I think like Spalletti, like you spoke about, he's better when he's linking up play, when he's involved in build up, and when he's involved in just like, yeah, linking up the attack. Whereas like Openda does well with space in behind and running on to passes and stuff. So Spalletti's mentioned that. So he clearly has a good understanding of how to incorporate each striker into the system. So I think it's just a matter of finding that role for him. I think like when you get to this point in the year, you start to question a little bit. I know like earlier in the season, you're always holding out hope, like, okay, he had to move. How does he adjust to being a striker, especially in Serie A? Because everyone knows it's difficult for strikers in Serie A, especially when they come from other leagues. So yeah, he put up such great numbers consistently at Lille and stuff. So I guess kind of that's where the question comes up as to, is he still really adjusting, or is this the most we're going to see out of him? You know, because I think sometimes we fall victim to like hoping or thinking that there's another version of that player we can unlock. Like I think a lot of fans did that with Koopmeiners at Juve last year. It was always holding out hope, like, okay, we're waiting to see the Koopmeiners and we're waiting to see him, but then it's like maybe what he's showing us is all that he is, you know? So I think that maybe it's something to consider going in. As much as I hate to say it, because I still hope that we can see another level from him, but it might be the max. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uncle Sharma, you asked the question, but let me come back to you. What do you think, Jonathan David?
No, yeah, I rated him because Inter were linked quite heavy with him over the years.
Again, shout out Fabrizio Romano.
Yeah, and the free transfer, Marotta never says no to that. But yeah, I think in a 3-5-2 at Inter, I think he would work. I think he's like basically...
Whoa, 3-5-2, don't say that. No. Sorry, go ahead.
3-5-2. No, I think in a 3-5-2 at Inter, he would work quite well. I think he's basically like, profile-wise, he's like Lautaro. He's like, he's kind of... I'm not going to use the word hefty again. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well built.
He's not lean.
Solid.
Yeah, he's solid he's quite short, so he's not very quick, but he's quite technical. So I think people misprofiled him as like some sort of fox in the box, but he's more useful outside of the box a lot of the times. So yeah, I think it was just a bad profile for Juve because they never play with two up front.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of like a victim of circumstance, wanting to leave. Tudor getting sacked so early on. Openda also not carrying his own weight. Bremer being injured early on, so they were conceding goals left, right, and center. So maybe a victim of circumstance in a way.
Yeah, Vlahovic ready to sort of pounce on his spot really before getting injured. Also, that's got to take a hit on his confidence when the player that was supposed to be out the door is they rely on him more than you. But a North American connection, and when we can swap teams now, Christian Pulisic is doing great. He is right there at the top of the Capocannonieri list. Now that's not saying much in this low Serie A. The numbers of any strikers are not particularly great.
At least Hakan's not top scorer anymore. That's
exactly, yes. And Premier League fans remind us on Twitter often. He's got numbers comparable to Lautaro Martinez, but half the minutes. I'm sure everyone and their mothers have seen that statistic on Twitter as well. But it gives us a good excuse to talk a little bit about him. First of all, what do you think of Sydney Sweeney? No, I'm obviously joking.
Overrated.
is is she better than Hoyland? Could she score a hat
No,
trick?
he's better than Haaland, yeah.
Do we think it's going too far and too much Milan bias to say that he is the best player in the league? And then I also want to hear your thoughts about Milan. Are they a true title contender, or are we sort of stuck in that group behind the two, as we said, where maybe Juve and Roma are also sneaking in? Ozzy, as the Milan expert, please start us off.
Yes, yeah. If you just look at I guess the stats, Pulisic is technically the best player. Maybe if you just look at goals or forwards, I think he carries. Does he carry Milan? No, maybe not the same way as Allegri's system and our three-man midfield there, but we certainly see when we're missing him. Now we've been missing him and Leao quite a lot. Well, forever it feels like they're always switching spots in the injury on the injury list. But yeah, what a player. We perhaps see him. I guess the last couple of games we've seen him not as much of a protagonist as we'd hoped, but he still affects the play. I mean, he scored on the weekend, right, or a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Without him, I think we'd be not relegation, but we certainly wouldn't be near the top, of course, with his goals, assists, and just how he can keep the ball in the final third for us. Runs, I think, at halftime against Verona, he ran the second most out of all the players, and he is technically a striker. And we weren't all too much in the final third, anyways. And yeah, I mean, the Sydney Sweeney stuff, I find that quite, I shouldn't say disgusting, but how Gazzetta dello Sport fell for that is truly mind-boggling.
Yeah,
not that I read Gazzetta dello Sport every single day, but I thought it was out of place for them to post something like that. I know they have their top 10 wags. Quite if you scroll down a bit, all that kind of nonsense.
That's a project.
If it's
the Italian climate overall.
If it's the Daily Mail or the Sun in the UK posting about it, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it was quite strange.
Yeah. Also shocking because, I mean, journalists. It's hard to call them journalists, but it's not that it's just a rumor about dating, which people are going to talk about anyway. But it's like they're both in relationship. Christian Pulisic is a lovely girlfriend who posts all the meals that she makes for him on TikTok and all that, which I think why he came out with the story as well. So yeah, it's just silly, and unfortunately, also the product of the bad sides of Italian cultures, and especially in regarding to how women are talked about. But Uncle Sharma, now I'm curious to see. We heard from the Milanisti. What do you think of Pulisic, and then what do you rate our chances to make a title push?
Yeah, unfortunately, after rate Pulisic, he's turning into those famous, like a Shevchenko in the derbies. Like every derby, he scores or assists. So it's hard not to rate him. But no, in general, I think he's always been a little bit underrated. Even when he was at Chelsea, he was always suffering from injury. So yeah, he's getting the thing that deserved respect now, which I think Milan fans still feel like is maybe underrated. But I think now that he's there in the top scorer charts, he's starting to get that respect now. And Milan, similar to what I said about Napoli, just the Conte effect with Napoli, Allegri effect with Milan. I just can't count out Milan when you have Allegri, who's a seasoned, experienced coach that knows how to, do this in the title races. And, we've got a rookie at Inter, so I feel like just that edge you might have in the later stages of the season with one game a week might help you out. So definitely Scudetto contender for me.
Lex, what do you think?
So bad for my agenda. All the Pulisic stuff. Oh man. I have to drop it. Like I already gave up. I think it was a few months back where I was with on Martino's podcast. I'm like, I have to give it up.
Shout out to Martino, by the way. We see you in the chat. I appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, no more. We can't continue this. It's fun to continue the beef for fun on Twitter, but I'm like, in all honesty, I had to drop the agenda a while ago because he's been proving himself, as you all mentioned. I mean, it's clear the stats reflect it. He's up in the race and he's been leading Milan. I think maybe some would say more than Leao has been, and he's been looking great for you guys. I think that with the one game a week, and now truly one game a week after not being in Coppa anymore and stuff, and with Allegri in the midfield that you have, Modric himself, I think, definitely a contender. Definitely in the mix for sure.
And Magnon returning to form as well.
True. Good point.
Yeah, I do think the one game a week is important, but I think is overblown because I don't know, our squad depth to me is not deep enough for one game a week. I feel like both Napoli and Inter have enough depth for their competitions. And if you take into account the multiple competition, but the squad depth overall, I think it's better than ours. Again, I think the midfield that we're set, we have three excellent starters and three, players in the backup. We'll see what Jashari becomes, but he's looking good. Ricci's definitely a Serie A capable starter, definitely off the bench. And Loftus-Cheek, we're not lovers in this podcast of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, but can definitely play. So that's set, but I think everything else that doesn't really work. We see that even with minor injuries. I mean, Leao and Pulisic have started one game together all season. And we'll see if we can make it two against Cagliari, but it looks doubtful again. The defense is rough, and it looks like the management won't come fix those holes permanently. We see Fulkrug to give Allegri at least a different sort of profile to throw up there. We'll see if something comes for the center backs, which is desperately needed. But yeah, one of those injuries that it's not in one of those three in the midfield will set us back a long time. We've seen it already with the strikers. Allegri's Allegri, take the phone from meme. He will work his magic. He will find a way. He will throw his jacket and do all the black magic stuff that we are accustomed to keep us there. And if the league is slow, if Napoli and Inter don't, as the Italians say, stand up on the bike and start really pedaling, I think we have a shot. But I think a lot of things need to work out in our favor in order to have a realistic title shot. That being said, I feel like we're in a maybe better position to hopefully make a top four than maybe like a Juve and a Roma. And that, I think, brings us to the missing link. Shout out to Wayne, who was meant to join this podcast, but has woken up a little bit sick. Wish him health and his kids, of course. Roma. I remember talking when Milan played Juventus and we had Lex on for the first time early in the season and discussing how, Roma was getting a lot of 3 points out of 1-0s and if things didn't change, that was going to dry up in the average. That hasn't happened, but it also hasn't happened because Roma started scoring. So now things get a little bit spooky. What do we think of Roma? What do we think of Gasp? We mentioned that there's some striking force missing. Gasperini has done his usual treatment of absolutely bashing his own strikers into form in the media. Seems to have worked for Ferguson on the weekend. We'll see if he continues to do so. I expect the Mercato to bring him something. Maybe a Serie A legend like Joshua Zirkzee and his comeback. But yes, what do we think in terms of finishing top four, or as we said, it's close. Maybe a Cinderella run for the title for Roma, and I think Oscar started the last one, so we can go back to Lex for this.
It's tough. Roma are such a wild card right now. As you mentioned, they were really building off of a solid defense. I think maybe Gasperini coming in to a new team, and as Oscar pointed out, he needs time to implement his system, but he really tried to solidify them defensively, and it worked because, like we pointed out, they were somehow coming out with these results and at the top of the table at points as well. But I think even Romanisti would agree that not exactly maybe pushing for the Scudetto this season, but I would say for sure like top four fight, definitely. I mean, they've been putting up results to prove that. I think the striker situation, everyone is super aware of. I think if they were to get a really solid striker, which I don't know who that would be, in January, I think that would maybe really bring some things into question a bit. I think Roma got rid of the wrong striker when they got rid of Shmurodov. And hung on to Dovbyk, and then I think Ferguson, well, he did get a goal and an assist, but in terms of his play overall, I think he was quite the flop. A bit of a risky investment from them that I don't know if it really paid off. We'll see if he does get let go of in January, but yeah, Roma are a wild card. I think Dybala, of course, got to mention Dybala, but his fitness being back, and I guess against Genoa, he had a pretty strong performance. I just watched some highlights, didn't see it, but I had heard that he had a pretty solid performance as well. So that always helps. We'll see if he's able to get back to some sort of top form in terms of like his standards. I think that'll play a role too.
I want to ask about Dybala because it's Lex, and then I promise I'll get to you, Uncle Sharma, about Roma. You really think that? You think he's coming back to top form? Because I think we'll see 6 months more like these, playing, not playing, getting injured of back heels, and then we might see a
An
farewell,
exit.
maybe to Argentina, and maybe a couple seasons, a Neymar like farewell for Dybala.
I hope that we see some sort of return, I think I agree with you that we're always going to see the up and downs with his injury record. But, praying that he doesn't have another injury like he did where he's out for 6 months or whatever he was long for. I hope we see him return to a bit more his standard. He's been pretty like off of the mark this first part of the season. So, but I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know as much as number one Dybala fan, but we'll see what happens in terms of if he's able to get himself back up.
Okay, Uncle Sharma, Roma, Gasperini, Ferguson. What do you think?
I like Ferguson, so I hope he comes good because I'm holding some stocks in the video that me and Lex made at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, hopefully the Gasperini method works. The beating him with the stick. But yeah, no, they definitely need someone else. Like I've seen them start with Baldanzi up front at times. Like what the hell's going on? So definitely need something up there. But they do have Zvila at the back. Like they do somehow. Indika's away, but this is Olkowski guy that they've brought in, a young guy. He seems really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Zvila, I think him and Magnon probably one of. I think you can pick which one is the best keeper in the league. It's one of those two. So they do have that. And Cristante under Gasperini, as much as I don't like Cristante under Gasperini, he seems to be reborn. Manu Kone is a solid midfield if those two don't get injured. But yeah, I still feel like they'll miss out on top four eventually. But they keep proving me wrong, so who knows? They keep going.
Ozzy, do you rate Roma?
Yeah, I think parts of Roma, certainly. I think obviously Ndika being away for AFCON, I don't know for how long, but that kind of throws a spanner into the works. I think they've been solid at the back. Mancini is up and down. A lot of Roma fans I feel like they were saying he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. I don't rate him that much, to be honest. I think he's a bit of a hothead, and in big games you see him either on the floor somewhere about 3 meters behind Leao, for example. And it's a striker worry, I think, with the combination of Dovbyk, Ferguson, and Dybala. I think it's 5 league goals between all three of them. Obviously, some missing time out with Dovbyk, obviously, in the very beginning of the season, maybe coming to Milan. Ewan Ferguson, even before this season, I think he had 1 league goal in 41 starts. And he's obviously a young player, but he burst onto the scene for Brighton, 2022. I've got some Irish friends that rated him very highly back then, and it's not really translated and maturing. But he got a goal most recently. Maybe that's the start of something new. Defensively, quite solid. That midfield with Cristante, and I agree with you, Uncle Sharma, that he is not one of my favorite players, but it seems to work for Roma. It is just the attack or the having a solid one striker that can maybe get you another 8 goals before the end of the season. Just one striker. That would do them wonders, but I think it hangs on getting a striker in the January transfer window for them to crack the top 4 properly. Well, I mean, they are in the top 4 right now, but staying in there, at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think I'm the highest on Roma, maybe just because I fear Gasperini to death. I see that man in my sleep. It's interesting. On Mancini, yes, I think he's very quickly. I think he's the type of player I hate the most, which is the act tough, but also dive. To me, it's like if you act tough, then you gotta be the Pepe type, I mean, not that Pepe didn't dive, but then I'm willing to get into fights. I'm willing to take it and do that. But when you're out there kicking and stomping everyone, and then also diving, there's a special place in football hell for those type of players. I mean, I think there's a good consideration that Sharma also brought up in Svilar. which brings me to one of the final questions that I had, which is, we talked about the Capocannonieri numbers being particularly bad. We're talking about, is Holden the best striker in Italy? That kind of question already gives you an idea of of how the striker situation is. Is for this Serie A season, are goalkeepers the new Capocannonieri in terms of importance, in terms of relevance? We see the importance that Magnan has had for us. We see how Svilar has kept Roma top of the table. Even with Napoli, Meret goes down injured. They find Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, and then it's been a big boost for them. I think Inter's a great example in the other direction. I think they would be maybe a few points clear at the top of the league if they had, no disrespect to Sommer, a great goalkeeper in his time, but his time is not today.
Some disrespect.
Some disrespect, yeah. I mean, the game against Juve, but there's countless.
Adzic hasn't scored since then. We gave Adzic.
He's disappeared. It was kind of used, and then and you see it also, down the time. I think Buitez has been very important for Como, and also with the ability with his feet, which is also a big part of the conversation in football right now. And if you look at the bottom of the table, I think Genoa has been struggling because of some very bad goalkeeper mistakes. I'll scroll down. David De Gea, it's hard right now mentally to be a Fiorentina player, so maybe not his fault. He was maybe the best goalkeeper of the league last year, but he's had some howlers. Our goalkeepers in current Italian football, the new number 9s in terms of importance, Ozzy.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, we saw it. We've seen a turnaround. Mignon wasn't perhaps at his peak last season. Look at him now. He saved it's a 2 out of 4 penalties this season, which it was 1 out of 16 before this season. And without him, we wouldn't be sniffing the top 4, right? Svilar the same for Roma. I don't like to glorify goalkeepers too much. I'm not saying that they're overrated. I think there are other parts of a football team that are more important, but you need to have all 4 positions, whether that be defender, goalkeeper, midfielder, strikers, all firing. And I see all top 5-ish teams struggling in one department. But yeah, there certainly are sort of a new type of number 9 importance for teams in Italy.
Uncle Sharma, you brought up Svilar. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know about number 9s, but some of them are starting to ask for number 9 salaries, right? Magnon's asking for some big money, so
yeah,
they're also getting there financially. But yeah, I guess if you're not scoring, the guys that are keeping the clean sheets are just as, if not more important. I think Allegri said the Scudetto mark, he usually does his predictions. He said, I think, is on the 84 points, his trajectory. So it's a pretty low. Again, I think it's going to be a low year for the points total. So it's going to be small margins. So yeah, I think goalkeepers will be very key to those small margins.
Lex, same question to you with a little added one. When we did our video, you had picked Di Gregorio ahead of Magnan. I now allow you the floor to eat your words. Go ahead.
Oh man, I still think Di Gregorio is underrated. I know we had that spell near the beginning of the season where he was just letting in every shot that was outside of the box, I think, for some reason. But he kind of patched that up. It lasted a couple games and he patched that up. But he's been keeping Juve in games. There's moments where we get our defensive lapses and let some shots through, and he's there to make big saves when it counts. I think he's a great shot stopper. I think he's a bit underrated too, but I do have to say that I must walk that back in terms of this season. Magnan, for sure, yes. I mean, like you all mentioned, which I agree with you guys, is him and Svilar being top for this season for goalkeeping. And yeah, I agree with what you pointed out, that Sommer at Inter might be kind of that weak point for them. I think Serie A is living up to its expectation of being a defensive league. So, we're speaking about the goalkeepers instead of the goal scorers, but that's okay. That's how it is.
It is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I don't know. I think the league is interesting. Obviously, it's fun when it's teams killing it and having more a season like last year where it's two top teams both doing great and seeing that race. But even if it's a little bit slower, it's maybe less fun. But everyone's bunched up. Everyone has a chance. Every week there's a new storyline. I don't mind it. We've been going for quite a while, so I think we can head towards a wrap up. I want to know. So this is mostly for the clip. This is our Instagram roots coming in strong. Napoletana Bob, fantastic group of people here. Thank you again to Martino also for chiming in. Each of you, again, reiterate who's gonna win the league. Give me, I guess, your top four. I want to know your 3 relegation side. I'm telling you now so you can think about it. I'll put it on the screen. Obviously, right now, very last is Fiorentina, Pisa, and Hellas Verona. But, Genoa is not too far away. Lecce, Parma, and so on. And then, obviously, for us, no Europe. But I want to know how far we think the Italian teams will make it in Champions League. We won't go into the depths of Europa League and Conference League. But, Juve is hoping to make it to the playoff. Inter hoping to make it into the top 8, but a couple really rough games coming up, and they've shown that this year in Champions League they've struggled against the bigger teams. And then throw in, we haven't spoken about Atalanta, but again, we don't have endless time to go through all the teams, unfortunately. And same thing with Napoli. There's a question about Conte and his European pedigree. So top 4, 3 relegation sides, and how far the 4 Italian teams can make it into Champions League ballpark. I feel like I've dictated traffic too much. Anyone wants to start? Who's brave enough?
I don't mind starting.
Go for it.
Top 4, who's going to win it? I'm going to stick with should I stick with my optimism? I think I'll stick with my optimism and have AC Milan win the league. I will have Inter shortly after that, and I'll have Napoli in 3rd and Juventus in 4th.
Okay. Uncle Sharma?
I would go, just to counteract the Milanismo, I have to go Inter winning, even though I probably don't believe that, but I'll go with that. Inter, Napoli, Milan, Juve. And then bottom 3, I reckon Fiorentina in January do a madness. They clear out the squad, buy 6-7 players, and do a Salernitana level comeback with Paratici coming in as the sporting director. So I'm going to go Pisa, Lecce, and I think Parma I'm going to drop off in the second half.
That's a brave call. 3 teams that are not current in the bottom 3, all 3. Okay, very interesting. Quick shout out.
In Europe, I don't think there's any team that's going to go deep this year. I think they will get eliminated at the round of 32, whatever the playoff is.
Okay.
One straight after that.
Pull on Milan from last season.
Brutal, yeah. Feyenoord, my lord. Quick shout out to Napoli Nation TV for joining in and saying it's going to be a tight race for sure. We look forward to having you, of course, on the podcast when we play Napoli next. Lex, predictions?
I think I'm going to stick with what I've had originally, and some Lex jinx in that maybe or something. We're going to go Napoli winning. Let's go Inter 2nd, which I had, and Juve 3rd. This time Milan 4th. Maybe a bit of a hot take.
No, this is great. This is great for the clips. I love it. Thank you.
Very close.
Just clip Oscar's face.
I know. This is how I've been told them to do better reactions, because it's always good. Bottom 3?
Bottom 3. I'm gonna stick with Fiorentina because that's what I want to happen. Okay. But I think it's gonna be Fiorentina.
Whoa! What happened to all the nice Canadian? What's the beef with Fiorentina?
Hey, we have beef with them.
There is no beef. It's only Fiorentina have beef with you.
Okay, we've got beef. No, I'm kidding. I just want to pick up some of the players. No, kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think I do honestly. I mean, unless something crazy happens, it's probably gonna be Fiorentina, Pisa, and let's stick with Verona. Let's keep the same 3.
Boring.
Sorry.
And do you like your European chances? You're finishing third in the league. Are you making a Champions League semi-final as well?
No, imagine that. I don't think so, but hey, Champions League, anything can happen. But no, I don't think so. I think I agree with Uncle Sharma that this year for Serie A clubs might not be the best. Hopefully we make it through. Maybe hopefully somebody makes it to the round of 16, but we'll see.
Yes. I think. I mean, I can go. I honestly don't believe Milan's going to win the league. So I think it's going to be, unfortunately, our uglier cousin from the other side of the city. I think Inter will win the league. I think they'll dominate. I think they already won it. It's kind of a done deal. So I don't even know why we're discussing this. No, I do think they're in the best position. I think Napoli will be a close second. I think we'll be third. And I think Roma makes fourth place. Unfortunately, I think Juve fail. Also, maybe because they don't want to happen to make Champions League, which hopefully means Spalletti does not get to stay. And then hopefully they can go back in the cauldron of the decision of getting a coach and see who they get once someone's available. Relegation, yeah, I mean Fiorentina is impossible to predict. Like right now, I can't see things getting better. Like the locker room issues, the mentality is crazy. Their squad could easily, as the Italians say, with a cigarette in their mouth, grab salvezza, but obviously it goes beyond just football and X's and O's. So I think they do get relegated. I think Pisa, unfortunately, goes right back. I don't mind Hellas Verona. They're not great. They got some ballers. Like if Orban will slot away some goals. Jovan or the young Brazilian, I like him a lot. He didn't play great against us, but I've seen some very positive things. I'm a little bit scared for Genoa. I saw that they're interested in Perin, and he's interested in go back. If they get a real goalkeeper and with Daniele De Rossi, I think they could probably save themselves. So I'm gonna say Lecce because they're not playing our boy because they don't want to give us money.
Keep the beef going. Keep the beef going.
Yeah, and the striker they replaced Kristovic with is just dreadful. I've had the bad luck of actually deciding to watch a few Lecce games, hoping to see Camarda, and unfortunately I've had to watch a lot of this man start. And look, I'm definitely could be wrong. This is not a big sample size, but my God, the man could not put the ball in the back of the net if he could use his hands at the moment. It's rather rough. I'm a little bit more positive on the Champions League. I don't know outlook. I mean, for me, both of you guys and Napoli had to play the extra 2 games in the round of 32 or whatever it's called, and then make it real far. Go lose another Champions League final, either of you. Sorry, had to get that in there. Obviously, that helps our chances to, I don't know, win the title or make top 4 in a more safe way. I don't know. Obviously, Conte has shown that he's had some trouble, but a healthy Napoli that firing all cylinders, I think, can take most of the big teams, and it's European teams that there's no domination. Like Real Madrid could definitely kick anyone's ass in Serie A. Don't get me wrong, but could I see Inter, a Napoli, Juve? Sorry, Lex, maybe a little bit more of an underdog, but could I see them beating them right now? I absolutely. Barcelona, if Hansi Flick continues to play suicide ball, could Yamal score 4? Absolutely. Could they have another game like they did with Inter where they score 7 but decide to still attack everyone and Haaland on the counter, for example, as a European night? I could see it. There's a few teams that are rough. I think no one wants to see Bayern Munich right now. No one wants to see an Arsenal speak about dark magic. I mean, I can see. I mean, Arteta's got Serie A written all over him. The PL likes the trash talk, but the Serie A magic is working for Arsenal. So, I mean, not a deep run, but I see, especially obviously with Napoli or Inter. Obviously, the matchups are king. As I said, anyone gets a Bayern Munich, and it's tough luck. But you get a couple good a good ping pong balls pick, and I think we could see a decent run. Ozzy, you gave us, I think, top 4, but you didn't give us relegation and Champions League, so we can finish with that.
It's impossible to see Fiorentina going down. Honestly, I shouldn't say impossible, but with the quality of their team, they can't be 20th or 19th or 18th. I just find that impossible. So I'm going to say they save themselves. On the same lines of Uncle Sharma, they'll do a Salernitana. They'll pull themselves together somehow. Jaco will bind them in that locker room. So I think they're going to be safe. I'm going to put Lecce in there to be relegated. I'm going to put Pisa in there to be relegated. And it's a toss up between Genoa and Hellas Verona. Recency bias after our game against Hellas Verona, I strongly dislike them, so I'm going to put them to be relegated.
Yes.
And Champions League, same lines as you guys. I can see Inter actually going quite far again. Perhaps not win it, and there's no disrespect, but going quite far. Napoli, you just never know. Juventus, I think it'll be a similar exit to ours last season in the round of 32 in a matchup that you should win and you don't.
The difference there is that I don't know if maybe Spalletti would be too sad about an earlier Champions League exit.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Obviously, you want the money, but I think he knows that he's very unlikely going to win the Champions League. So focus on that top four. Very last question, I promise. Just one name from everyone. Actually, two, because Mosekin is too easy. But one, Fiorentina fire sale if they do go down, or in January, but probably June if they do go down. Who are you grabbing? Like two names again, because maybe not for Inter, because you guys are kind of stacked there. But who are you grabbing? My names, I'll start. I feel like I'm having easy dishing out the question, never answering first. Obviously, Mosekin, perfect for us. It's exactly what we're missing. And then give me Gudmundsson. Gudmundsson, I think, is such an underrated player. And it's frustrating this season because he's had like 2 good games. And every time he has good games, it's annoying if you're a Fiorentina fan because you're like, you could play like this. You just choose not to. But I always wanted him when he made the move. I was so scared he was going to go to Inter. He was heavily linked. So those are my two. Ozzy?
Gudmundsson, not just because of what he could become at Milan, but also I think he would be our first ever Icelandic player. As a Nordic myself, I think that would be quite cool.
Very good. Uncle Sharma?
We could do with the Dodo at Inter if we just as a wing back.
True,
but like short term,
very well.
I probably wouldn't buy him. And if not Moise Keane, then don't really see anyone that's really that Inter quality in their team, to be honest.
Maybe I do like. I know the season has been rough, but
yeah, maybe Gudmundsson as well. I think we were linked with him before Fiorentina bought him. I think he would be nice in the 3-5-2 as well. Add something different.
Mm-hmm. And Lex?
I think is Keane off limits?
No, you can be one of your two, but I want an extra name on top of that.
Yeah, I think Keane will take him back, especially now. Last season his form was excellent, but yeah, Keane needs some help at striker, and then I think we're gonna get Fagioli back anyways.
I was waiting to see if you're gonna go for the two Juve exes.
Yeah, I also love Mandragora, which would be another return, but I'm also a fan of
Parisi as well. I mean, a lot of those Italian players, unfortunately, are not great, but good. That's been the problem with the Nazionale. Okay, well, I've stolen enough of all your times. I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. If you're watching live or the replay, please take a second to subscribe and like. You will find all the information from Uncle Sharma and Lex in the description. Please go check them out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. Both of you, we appreciate you taking the time to talk football with us. Happy New Year, and we will see you when we post these clips to either congratulate you or make fun of you. And as always, Forza Milan.
Forza
Milan.
Milan.
Thank you so much.